Well, it's the biggest management change at Amazon since Jeff Bezos founded the company in his garage more than 25 years ago. Jeff Bezos will step down as the CEO of the world's largest online retail, and it's going to happen in the third quarter of this year. His replacement will be Andy Jassy. He runs Amazon's cloud computing unit. Bezos will become executive chairman. And with me now from San Francisco is Bloomberg's Ed Ludlow. Hey, Ed, thanks so much for taking the time. Look, last year was a really consequential year for Amazon and, of course, the e-commerce industry. With the pandemic raging and consumers changing the way that they're shopping, it's going to face more pressure to perform and continue to perform once the pandemic subsides. So what do we know about why this is the time for Bezos to make this decision?
Yeah, we don't know a great deal on the timing. On the earnings call, the company's CFO, who is the only executive that spoke, basically said that succession is something that is reviewed constantly at Amazon. You know, over time, the way the business has grown, they've installed heads of each business unit, split between consumer and cloud. And, they have a deep bench of talent. And the context is that Jeff Bezos is a very busy man, right? The role of being the CEO of Amazon is demanding. And at the same time, he presides over the Washington Post newspaper. He has all of the charities that he's involved in. His passion project is the Blue Origin space rocket exploration company, which, is basically trailing behind Elon Musk's SpaceX. He has a lot going on, and he has been at the helm of that company for 25 years, as you say, since he founded it in his garage. It has grown into this behemoth, and so we don't know why. We just know that it is now.
Yeah, he spends up to $1 billion a year on the company. I got to ask about Andy Jassy here. He's been heading up Amazon Web Services. That's Amazon's cloud business. I mean, Amazon was the first mover and the first major mover in this. Amazon Web Services, by no means the biggest segment of Amazon's business, but is by far the most profitable, Ed. Why Andy Jassy?
Yeah, Andy Jassy is a longtime Amazonian. He was hired by the company in 1997. He's basically been at the helm at AWS since its inception, first as senior vice president. And then as AWS has grown, he was made CEO of AWS in 2016. And you're right to frame it that way, right? I think in 2020, we ended the year with AWS accounting for 12% of revenue, but it does account for around 60% of profit. It is just a high margin business, and as consumers, we understand Amazon through the lens of Amazon.com, e-commerce. It's what we see and interact with. And it saw incredible growth in 2020 driven by the pandemic. I think Americans overall spent like 34% more on e-commerce in 2020 than they did in the prior year. That rate of growth is just not going to continue. Wall Street doesn't expect it to continue in Amazon's case either. And on the cloud side, AWS is the cash cow, but it also faces increased competition. Google, you see in its results yesterday, investing really heavily to try and catch up with AWS and also Microsoft. It's a dynamic marketplace. And so, in terms of the long-term future for Amazon, it's equally as important with alongside e-commerce. And the question with Jassy at the helm is, which does he prioritize? The message this morning from Wall Street is we expect continuity.
Yeah, that certainly seems to be the message, not just from analysts, but certainly from stock movements that we saw after hours and in pre-market trading this morning, Ed. I do wonder how much different Jeff Bezos' role is going to be moving forward than it was over the last few years, sort of apart from the more active role he took during the pandemic, because he's had these side projects for a very long time and has focused sort of on the innovations and space elements of his own life, more so in recent years.
Yeah, he quoted in both the press release and also in a letter he sent to employees. And really the question is around innovation and new products. Amazon has come a long way from being an online bookstore set up in a garage, right? It's a $1.7 trillion company. It has incredible artificial intelligence capabilities with Alexa, the device business. Alexa devices are in so many homes. It's a market leader in that space in smart speakers. It has e-commerce. It has AWS. And, reading between the lines and actually what's written coming from Bezos' own hand in the release, that's what he'll do. He'll focus on the next generation of things to come from Amazon, the new innovations, the new products, and at the same time be freed up to pursue these other things like Blue Origin, which is obviously, as you said, he spent around $1 billion a year on that company. The other thing as well is that, the messaging was also pretty clear. He's not going far. He is going to be executive chairman. It's being framed as a change in job title only. And that really the big change is how responsibility is delegated and restructured among the existing executives at Amazon. There's no big shuffle of personnel. They just all have new job titles.
Bloomberg's Ed Ludlow in San Francisco. Ed, I would also add, he's only 57 years old. So he's
a young man.
Yeah, he's a young man. So look, I imagine he has many active years ahead of him as executive chairman. Bloomberg's Ed Ludlow in San Francisco. Ed, thank you as always for your time. I know it is very early in the morning there. Well, it's time now for By the Numbers, where we give you the numbers that tell the story. This morning's number is $197 billion. Jeff Bezos is worth $197 billion. That's according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. This is the highest his fortune has been this year. Bezos is the second richest person in the world, behind only Elon Musk, and much of Bezos' wealth has actually come in the last few years as Amazon's value has absolutely soared. Bezos' fortune has almost doubled since he reached the 100 billion mark. That was in late 2017. And this comes after even giving up a quarter of his Amazon stake to ex-wife Mackenzie Scott in a divorce back in 2019.